Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm Akash. I'm the host of Airtime Webinars, which is a bi-weekly series of discussions with research and product leaders about topics that they care about. Today, I'll be talking to Anna Gabor about choosing the best UX tools for your teams. Anna is a research operations lead at Brandwatch, and she's a seasoned researcher, ops expert, who has worked at top companies like Prezi or Realize Vision AI. She has a lot of experience as a UX researcher as well as a research ops person. So I'm really counting on getting her unique perspective and sense of how to optimize the research process. Now, before we kick things off, I just want to make sure that all the technical setup works fine. So if you can leave me a thumbs up, say hi, where you're from in the comments, I'm more than grateful. I see from Antonia already that she's been here. In terms of technicalities, if you have any questions during the webinar, right, in the first 30 minutes, I'll be talking to Anna and then we open the Q&A. But if you have any questions, don't wait for 30 minutes. You can put them in the comments and I'll make sure that I'll put it on the screen and throw the ball in Anna's direction. Now, on this note, in the last session, one of the participants or viewers suggested me that I implement an upvoting system for questions because sometimes there are a lot of questions and it also it's quite difficult for me to pick the right ones. So let's do the following. If you see someone posting a question and you like that question and it's also relevant for you, leave a thumbs up for me, okay? And then seeing the number of thumbs up will give me, I know it's an MVP solution, but bear with me a little bit. And let's try this system for now. All right. Second thing, if you want to do a bit of background check or just get in touch with any of us later on, I'm going to be putting our LinkedIn profile links in the comments as well. Feel free to connect with me and with Anna. And if you have any questions that you may have missed asking, but you'd like to pick her mind, I'm quite sure that she'll be delighted to follow and continue this conversation. All right. I think I said everything. I even went to 3 minutes into my introductory speech here. So let me drop the mic and rather pass it on to you, Anna. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm thrilled to have you here. I think it's the first time I have a research ops expert on Airtime webinars. And getting started, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and what you have expertise in.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Akash. It's an honor to be here and be the first ReOps person in the Airtime webinar. Just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm working as a research operations lead at Brandwatch, and I'm responsible for recruitment, toolkit as the topic of today, research repository, data governance. I'm the only ReOps person, so doing kind of a bit of all of the things. And just briefly introducing my career. So I started in consumer research, and that internship experience got me hired at a software as a service company, Realize, that is developing an emotion and attention recognition algorithm. So it's a deep learning AI technology. And I started in their data science team, helping on these consumer research or ad testing projects. And then I transitioned into a product researcher role. And this is when I started my career in user research. And then I moved into ReOps, and the rest is history.
It is. Anna, let's. I think you provided a good segue with toolkit selection. This is going to be the main theme of today, but I want to start from a broader perspective, because I think if a lot of times the question is, when do I start thinking about professionally on what about the UX tools that a company uses? And many, I have my own startup, but many tech companies have this mentality of let's just get things done, let's not overcomplicate things. And I'm wondering if you can share some signals that we should be watching out if our company has reached a maturity or a point in their journey when they should be thinking about standardizing some or professionally picking some UX tools.
Yeah, that's a great topic. So I mentioned about my previous experience at Realize, and there I ran research without almost any professional research tool. So the first professional research tool I got onboarded myself on was a panel, a business to business panel where I could extend my LinkedIn recruitment. So I have experience on what it's like without a specialized research toolkit, and I can compare it to my current job where we have some specialized research tools. And yeah, although I wasn't the one who onboarded all of these research tools, but definitely made some changes on our current toolkit. I can say that maybe one signal to think about is efficiency, or if things are not working efficiently. So if someone on your research team is spending way too much time in administration or recruitment, or connecting the different Excel sheets to one another where you store different data, that leads me to another point, actually, where your data and information gets so fragmented that it's becoming hard to find for people, and hard to get the information to your stakeholders what they need. And I would bring in another perspective, which is the customer's experience. So it's very important what is the customer's research participation experience, because they will it also tells something about your brand, what they experience with you during the research flow. And if they receive surveys from 4 different tools, that might not be as a comprehensive experience for them. Or if they you contact customers, so there are multiple researchers on your team, for example, and they contact the same customer a few days apart, because you don't have a management a system that manages customer interactions. And of course, the data privacy perspective. So you want to minimize the number of occasions you duplicate a file that contains PII, so personal information. So I would say whenever you reach a point that there are multiple researchers on your team, you run research with more than a handful of participants, and you want to try multiple research methods. That's also a thing, that there are so many great specialized tools that can help you be more efficient and will worth your investment in a professional research tool.
Yeah. Thanks for summarizing. I also wanted to put one types of factors on the umbrella of velocity. So if you as a researcher, you notice that you're just dragged down by administrative tasks or copy pasting from one tool to the other, like sooner or later that will just hit a threshold where you're getting annoyed with that. I love your point about this participant experience, and I'm just wondering, how do you get a sense? What's a good approach to get a sense whether you're making or you're providing a bad participant experience because multiple researchers contact the same person without knowing about each other?
So in the worst scenario, customers come back to you,
and then they complain.
Which you want to avoid, right? So it's rather like more like a preventive approach, like signals that you rather not see, right? So you think ahead of how you might want to prevent this from happening, a bad experience. But you can also research the research experience. So you can launch a short study or survey how satisfied the participants were after joining a research session with you.
And I guess that makes a big difference if you have a panel, and then you have like a user base that you want to talk to over and over again and make sure that they are engaged and they are happy in that panel.
Yes, and that comes to a difference, I think, a huge difference between conducting research with business users or conducting research with end consumers, right?
Yeah.
So when you conduct research with business users, that is a process that might involve different teams, even in your organization, and you want to approach it differently, with more careful, because there is a number of people who you can talk to. If you have let's say bigger contracts, you work with business users and you have bigger contracts, you will have a lower number of users most likely, and you don't want to exploit them. You and also from the perspective of their experience, and also from the perspective of the insights quality, that you want to make sure that you get your insights from different people, and not always the same three people, especially if you are in that level of maturity already, that you have a wide range of customer base.
This is a really important point. Now let's start approaching and moving closer to the core topic. And I'm just thinking, let's say, Akos, I'm a user researcher at a company, and I get the task from my superior that I should start thinking about like picking the right tool for the sake of a thought experiment. Let's say it's a research repository. I need to pick a research repository tool from the market. What are the different aspects and factors I should think about in the first place when I get a task that's, okay, now's the time to find a new tool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting what you say, that you get the task or you initiate it because of you run some research, right? With the
Thank you for making that distinction. It can come from both directions.
yes, exactly. So I rather worked on the latter situation, by the way, which I really appreciate. And yeah, that starts with building a business case for the new tool. So you want to showcase how this tool will support your team, how it will make you more efficient, how it fits to your current workflows and environment. So you want to make sure to have some high-level one-pager or plan that will help you work with your stakeholders. But there are a number of factors that come into place. The size of your team, maybe, or the research maturity on your team, your budget. So it will really actually sometimes limit you, that there are very great but more expensive solutions on the market that you might not go for because you have some budgetary limitations. And
I let you talk through, and then I want to double click on the budget topic shortly.
And there are obviously other factors we already spoke about. I wouldn't detail it again, about like business users and consumers, because there are, for example, different participant panels, and depending on whom you work with, and if you want to work with external participants outside of our customer base, there will be specialized panels for business users and end users. Sometimes there is the same provider who provides both, but I have more experience on the business user side. And what else? Of course, the research methods. So we are speaking about now the repository, but so maybe we can zoom back into the repository, but it's very important whether you're selecting for what phase of the research you are selecting a tool for, because it's a very long process, I would say, with very special steps before interacting with the users, interacting with the users, and after interacting with the users.
Absolutely. On the budget topic, because we could dig into so many things here. And maybe before we jump into the budget topic, you named a number of things like the team size, UX maturity, Um, Based on your experience on the market, what is like the decisive factor which defines like whether you can pick like a tool A is suitable for you or tool B? And I'm going to give you an example because I just realized I didn't formulate this question properly. Let's say you're a very small tech team. You can use Jira from Atlassian. It's fine. Like a team of one person could use that, but also a large tech organization could use it. So that's sort of like a tool, an example, which is equally good for a small team or a bigger team. And what I'm looking for is from all these factors and aspects, are there any that will like clearly differentiate whether you can use a product or not? And we can stick to the repository example.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. So I also need to say that there is not the decision that either you go for a tool or you don't go for a tool. There are different tiers of plans you can contract.
Okay.
You can sign up to a starter plan on the same tool where you can get an enterprise plan for obviously for a different price. But enterprise tools come with different needs and requirements usually, especially around security and data privacy. So, and even if the same tool is compliant on the enterprise plan, they might not provide certain features you need for enterprise security, like single sign-on, for example.
Okay, I hear that.
Lower tier plans, sorry, they might not provide it on the lower tier plans. I didn't finish.
Yeah. On the budget point, it's in my experience, it's until you like when you implemented a tool, many of the users, also the people writing the check, signing out the budget, they will start experiencing the value, right? So they see what the value is. What are some what is your experience with like getting a budget at a point when you haven't implemented the tool and the people that you're asking the budget from, they don't necessarily have experience with that tool, so they can't know how good it will be. And obviously, the more experience they have and the higher their expectations, the higher budgets you can probably get.
Yeah, so before using the tool, you can only demonstrate it with maybe some demos or trials how it will look like. But yeah, it's definitely more challenging to demonstrate the value early on than later on, where you have some usage statistics or people create new studies, the tool gets more adoption. But back to the question of budget planning, I think it's a really great exercise to, well, prepare a lot, speak to all of your vendors, even explore what's out there and prepare a comprehensive document. If you are in our team, I'm the budget owner. So that is an exercise I'm doing. I'm owning this reporting, but obviously not the whole decision making, because in bigger companies it's a collaborative exercise. But be prepared when you speak to your stakeholders about budget, and have those numbers already available, even if the contract expiration date comes months later. I think it's recommended to be prepared early on, so that they can already count on this need for the next financial year. So yeah, that I think if there is a single point I can make is prepare a comprehensive document that speaks about the needs your team has, and obviously like why you need those tools.
Yeah, let's talk about the needs of the team, because when you're looking for a new tool, that's also a key input that you need to explore within like primary users. Maybe you have viewers in the company who just want to every now and then go into that repository and find some insights. It can be a very time-consuming process to do a robust requirement gathering. What's your approach when you selected a tool? Let's the last time. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
What was your approach of gathering requirements efficiently?
So I would differentiate again. Sorry to take a step back again, but between continuously gathering requirements from your team and gathering requirements for renewal or for a new contract. Because if you work with the same people for a long period of time, you want to be aware of their needs, what their experience is with the current toolkit. Do they experience any challenges, or did they invent some shortcuts you want to be aware of, right? That's very important, because then you can dig into the why are you inventing this shortcut? You are lacking something that we might want to solve in a different way. So that there is this continuous approach. And then obviously before a renewal, what I did last time, or before a new contract, let's say, to have a sense check of the current solution, like how are they doing? Did a workshop, for example, with the team, and listed out all those pros and cons that are characteristics of the tool. And then you can again, like, did you say, sorry, it's a renewal, or maybe
it could be a renewal, or it could be just let's say toolkit merging, people using various tools for note taking. Let's just pick that as an example. Doing interviews, and then there are like 4 different tools that people use for note taking. And let's say I'd like to select a single tool where everybody writes their notes.
Yeah. I've been through this exercise. So you would, even before like starting a trial with the vendor you think that could be a good fit, even before that you would have some kind of like requirements gathered from the team, either in a workshop or you can do a short survey again, or these one-on-one interviews. Whatever you prefer. I usually don't go for the long surveys because that has the lowest response rates.
Yeah.
But to understand what are the top priority requirements for the team. So that's also very important, that there will be some nice to haves. I prefer that the data is displayed horizontally or vertically. That those nice to haves can add up, by the way. And in the end, if 2 tools are really comparable, it can, in the end, I think, influence the balance, or how to say, like the decision. But of course, they have to have the core top priority requirements, which are not only coming from the research team, by the way, but also from procurement team, legal, data privacy team. Or if you don't have these teams, if you work in a smaller company, then you might want to speak to a legal advisor, because it's crucial to get these things right.
Absolutely. Talking to a legal advisor reminds me that I wanted to dig into pitfalls in this process, like things that, you go through the requirement gathering, you test out new tools, maybe you already selected the most suitable ones. What are the things that can pop up too late in the process, which will hurt a lot or just jeopardize onboarding the chosen tool?
Yeah, that's obviously the first most important that comes to mind is requirements around data privacy and security, because in the research process you deal with a lot of personal data. So that's super important for research tools to have a good standard of data privacy, and so have good data privacy and security standards. And there are certain documents that you can look at. They have to provide, like SOC 2 and ISO certificates could be an example that are a result of an audit process. For example, an external audit company would make a judgment whether that company is privacy and security compliant. So that's really valuable. And they should have a privacy policy publicly available that details like how they handle personal data, how they store, why they store, how long they store, and all these details need to be carefully considered when you start working with a vendor and decide to upload data of your customers, because you're also responsible for the data of your customers. So one other topic, maybe that's not too relevant, but I had it recently and I think it's very interesting. I would say it is a tool overwhelm. Maybe that's a good expression. So if the team had a period most recently where they got onboarded on other tools other than UX research, or they already onboarding on new UX research tools, maybe it's not the best time to explore the best new solutions on this specific area, because you want to consider that people need some stability over time so that they can do their daily work, because tools will be instruments that help them do their daily work. But if it takes so much time away from them to onboard constantly, then it's becoming inefficient. So timing, I would say timing is key, but there are maybe a number of other factors which I recently met, and I think it's also interesting. You might want to check about what support is available on your plan, the contact hours, for example, with the customer success manager, because when you say digital customer success program, it is not necessarily a contact hour with the real person. It happening in a digital environment. So you might want to check how many contact hours with a person from the company is included. And maybe a last thing, of course, ask so many questions of the features and how they work before getting to the point of signing a contract, because it's better to be a bit, how would I phrase, like annoying beforehand than surprised afterwards. And the trial is also very good exercise to do to uncover anything that you can't see without actually trying the tool. Like, what is the experience for researchers on the certain tool, and assess and evaluate together. I would say you would have a table ideally of the requirements that you already gathered from the future users, and then the researchers some selected researchers may help you evaluate these requirements. And I think how to say.
Wow, it seems like a minefield to me, you know, like all the pitfalls from right and left. And to just double down on your point about tool onboardings, I've seen people burnt out from SAP or ERP system implementation, and so I definitely have that experience that it can be overwhelming. And then if multiple of these tools get changed at the same time, you're just going to have a pushback, not necessarily because the tool is not a good fit, but people don't have the mental bandwidth to come along. And I love your point about just thinking more broadly than your power users. Now, as a research ops person, your power users are the UX researchers around you. But then there's all these other things that are happening in the company that have a very important and significant impact how well this tool gets adopted as you purchase it.
Yeah. Yeah, the adoption. Sorry, go ahead. Just about the adoption is that it's a whole different.
Yeah. That's actually the last thing I wanted to ask from you. Besides 1,000 others, but we don't have time for that. So I'm going to make a little jump here. We looked at what did we look at? We looked at how you gather requirements, some of the pitfalls. What are some aspects that you look as you're selecting your ideal tool, and then you have the tool, you purchased it, and I've seen it over and over again where teams spend a lot of time picking a research repository, another tool, and then struggle with decent adoption within the organization. And people don't create a user or irregularly use that tool, even though it has a lot of value to offer. What's your recommendation of how to foster like high adoption for a new tool?
Yeah. We already spoke about timing, and I think timing also comes a bit in here, because it might not be the best time to onboard everyone when you're already like aware of this tool and we just had the contract and let's make everyone create their studies, but rather adapt to the workflow or current workload of the researchers and do a training when they are more ready to launch a study. So I think I committed that I wouldn't say big mistake, but I would do it differently, that I invited the customer success manager from the company to help us with an onboarding training too early. And it was too overwhelming. Instead of trying to just showcase the value of the tool first, rather than going into the very deep details before you actually need those. So I would say timing comes in again, and maybe consider different learning styles. That was a big learning for me, that some people like video style training, other people like a detailed documentation, which I think you should have anyways, like a step-by-step guide with links to the vendors, the description on tool descriptions. I think Slack messages work very well because I think that is the most time the people spend. At least I don't know what is happening in other companies, but those bring more attention and engagement, like these very short. Of course, it has to have a shorter format so that it's digestible, and maybe peer interactions, I would say. So it doesn't come from the first moment when everybody is onboarding to a new tool, but if you can have some champions from the researchers or anyone running research who can advocate for this tool internally, that can be so powerful. And I would even call them like researcher success stories that you can like kind of present to each other. And it's always more powerful to hear it from your peer, and it is going well for my peer, then it will work for me as well.
Yeah, that's proof. It also reminds me a little bit of this technology adoption curve, where whenever you introduce, let's say, you bring to market a new tool or a new solution, there's this first section of the curve which are made of early adopters and innovators, and then you have later adopters. Yeah. And a prerequisite to tackle that bigger market is to win over the early adopters and innovators. And for everyone in the other groups, it gives a lot of comfort that there are people who already tested it, who know the shortcuts, who know potential mistakes. I can just turn to them and ask them these questions. Mm-hmm. I love your example, and it also reminds me of this phenomenon from other places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Now, I already see a few questions in the comments. Now's the time to pick Anna's mind. If you have any tools that you're about to implement, or if you struggle with increasing a tool adoption, it can be anything. Feel free to throw it in the comments. I'm going to put Sarah's question up there straight away, which is about good practices related to how you communicate with participants, right? This goes back to the point that you mentioned, that participant experience is crucial. What are your guidelines on this?
I don't know which environment or what kind of environment you work in, Sarah, but in an environment where I work in a big company, there are different teams as well who get in touch with the same customers about a marketing email, or a customer success manager reaches out to them, and we from the research team reach out to them. And I think it's best to align all these initiatives and look at the customer touch points all together, because it will be just a single experience for the customer, even though you have so many different workflows on what you communicate to the customer. And about the timing, as a rule of thumb, maybe, I don't know even if I should say anything, but maybe you wouldn't invite ideally people more than once a month, except if they agree on it, or they participate in a series of sessions, because you don't want to make them tired, and you want to be able to ask feedback from them later that year, for example.
Thank you. I have a question from Maria about challenges related to recruiting people from different culture, and she also brings an example.
Unfortunately, I don't have experience in that. What can I think of?
I let you think a little bit. I can chip in here a little bit because when we're thinking about, I think what you're implying are that a lot of panel providers have big databases in the US and also European markets. What I've seen in my personal experience, what worked for me quite well, and just bear in mind this is B2B context that I'm speaking of, is LinkedIn reach outs. The people that I reached out were fairly responsive, and it's not something that you can do on a large scale, but it will allow you to get some participants for a particular study. That's one point. And the second one, if your company has good content, a blog, something that people read, and an online presence, that online presence can also be used as a way to recruit people and just intercept them maybe with a little widget. And I know it's not as comfortable as going to a panel and slicing and dicing their database and just picking the ideal ones, but it's the second best if you lack good databases in your region.
Yeah, definitely. You can try building your own panel. That's, I think, a whole topic. Depending again if it's B2B, B2C, there are different approaches. Maybe I work in B2B, but that's definitely a good approach for us to build a research panel.
Absolutely. I have a question from. I'm just gonna put in here, Irina. Sorry for putting. I hope you're dying. I'm not intimidating you, Irina, with putting you up here, but she's saying that FB ads also worked well. So there are like social media and various ways in social media and your website. Those are the channels. Those are the tentacles that you can have to reach users. Now, I have a question from Siri from a completely different angle. And the question is about the impact of AI in the coming years. What are your thoughts on this in the context of research ops? Let's just restrict that a little bit.
Yeah, that's again an interesting one. So I think in the past 2 years, since large language models like ChatGPT became more popular, also research tools started implementing some AI, generative AI functionalities, and it's not anymore a nice to have on your research knowledge and toolkit to know about AI. I think it's essential to be able to use AI and use AI well. I think it's another question whether we need AI for everything, because AI if AI solves the good problem, then it's a good AI. It solves the good problem in a good way, but it's not true for all AI. So you need to test the AI you're working with. You need to know what is the large language model behind it. So I know some big research providers have different large language models behind their generative AI. I mean the text summary, for example, text summarization features. And yeah, I'm expecting it in the next years to be more specific. So I'm really hoping that it will be able to speak from your data and your background of product, how to describe it. So currently AI doesn't know how my product works and gives more generic insights. Sometimes they nail it, sometimes they don't. But I'm really hoping that AI can learn how the products work and give more specific insight summaries. That would be really good. And I love the direction where we are going, that some research tools already started like quoting or referencing where the AI summary is coming from, because sometimes it's a black box. You just don't know where the AI made that thing up. And it's just so good to see the reference, like, okay, it is from this interview, the 3rd minute where they thought that this is the summary of that conversation. So I think that is a really good direction, that it gives users more transparency on how the AI thinks.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Maybe one aspect to add, it's something that I've recently seen with surveys, that AI can help you personalize and turn it into a conversation. And sometimes it's overdoing it. Like I recently filled out a survey, and one of the first questions was my nationality. And when I chose Hungarian, then instead of like prompting the next question, there was this comment about, oh, I love Ferenc Puskás, who used to be a famous Hungarian football player, and what a great player he was in the Golden Team. But I mean, it wasn't too subtle, but if you think about the potential, if they can nail it and they can like having a personal touch, even though I know it's a machine, it's sometimes like kinder than grumpy people on no on the line when you call a company's hotline.
Yeah.
All
what
right.
you say about Just very, very quick comment.
Yeah,
Sorry. So what you say about phrasing questions and even follow-up questions, some tools are capable of phrasing follow-up questions during a research study. So you launch something, the user types, you launch a question, the user types an answer, and the AI is able to follow up based on that answer. And I think that's really powerful. And how I use, for example, ChatGPT is also really helpful to think about survey questions or interview questions, and try to rephrase and give a couple of versions, and it gives you some options maybe you haven't thought about. So I think those uses of AI in research can also grow further.
Yeah, I think it's going to be commercial time, not for airtime, but Irina is asking about the favorite tools at the moment. So anything that you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh, shall I? Well, also mine.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, shall I go for it? So yeah, I think on the repository side, airtime, dovetail and condense worth taking a look. Then on the participant management side, what comes to mind is Rally UX research. Great question. That really worth taking a look. User interview, I think, also belongs also to this category, but they also have a really good B2B panel. So as respondent, I don't know many B2C panels or have much less experience with them. And in unmoderating, I would say Maze and Ballpark would be on the top list. Yeah, it's what's on the top of my.
Do you have like a favorite tool for surveys or for
Yeah.
online meetings that you prefer recording your online meetings in?
It depends what online meetings, Zoom.
Sorry, I meant like let's say interviews or online interviews.
Yeah, Zoom, I would say.
Zoom?
Yeah. And for the survey tools, I know Typeform. That's also a good one, but I know there are multiple of them. And if you're looking for something more complex, maybe in an enterprise environment, that's Qualtrics probably.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just a side note, I also like using Zoom because when somebody when I share my screen, which sometimes happens, let's say I'm doing some sort of a concept test, then in other tools I lose sight of the participant's camera. And in Zoom, I can still see that. So I see when they're tuning out, when they're not paying attention, when something resonates, and it gives me like live clues on how to continue with that interview. Just a side note for myself. I spent some time testing various tools only to run and record the sessions.
Great. You can look into research tools as well. I'm a big fan of research tools, but if you work maybe alone as the first researcher of the company, there are so many tools that can help you out, like Confluence, Zoom, Miro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can build something to start with without specialized tool, but definitely, as we spoke about it in the beginning, it's worth scaling soon in the process, to my opinion.
Yeah, and Anna, thanks so much. Thanks very much for your wisdom, for sharing your favorite tools, for taking us through your experiences, and just mentioning things that have never been on my radar. That's like a tool implementation fatigue. You had a much better word for that.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. For everyone in the audience, I'm gonna leave Airtime's Spotify link and YouTube link in there because this session has been recorded. So if you want to go back to any points that Anna made, you want to take your notes, you want to take her advice, please follow me there, and just go back to these sessions whenever it's the right time. Special thanks goes also to the audience for the activity, for the questions, for being with us. I know tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so I expect a number of North American tuning in to be in holiday mode. So I appreciate that. And with that, Anna, thanks, and I hope to see you again soon.
Me as well. Thanks so much, everyone.
I just realized there's just so much we could dig into and just zoom in on. So I'll definitely be in touch. Thanks for everyone. Take care. Have a nice evening or rest of the day. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.